Welcome to episode 38 of the Total Hockey Training Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Scahan. And remember now, I enjoy doing these shows. You're going to love my next guest. But if you could share, like it, or rate the show, we're across all platforms now, which is pretty neat. And please do that if you like the show. Also, Total Hockey Training, we are rolling in our in-season phase. Again, if you're a hockey player, a young hockey player or coach, and you need a strength and conditioning program, just send me a direct message. We're on Train Heroic, Total Hockey Training. So I want to introduce my next guest. It's an honor and a privilege, a good friend of mine, a mentor of mine, Doug Sluggo Shearer. And he's got a pretty extensive bio here. I'm going to highlight some of the things Sluggo has done. He spent 35 years in the National Hockey League as an equipment manager, including 11 seasons with the Anaheim Ducks. And he was the head equipment manager for the Capitals from 1983 until 2006. He helped the Capitals get to the Stanley Cup Finals in 1998. He's also the first president of the Society of Professional Equipment Managers. I want to get into that. I want to talk about his involvement in that process. Has done several stints with USA Hockey, and an all-around good friend of mine. Sluggo, welcome to the show, pal. How are you?
Thanks, Sean, for having me. Doing great.
Awesome. You look like you're doing great.
Retirement's not bad, buddy. Let me tell you.
Well, hey, tell the listeners about a young Sluggo and what got you into hockey.
Well, that's a question I asked myself a lot of times back in the day, but I grew up down South Carolina, Spartanburg, South Carolina, so I knew very little about hockey. I come from a football background, and then we moved back to Pennsylvania, right outside of Hershey, and I got introduced to hockey with my dad going to a game. My dad was also a football coach and teacher, and we went to the Hershey Bears game, and I fell in love with the sport right away. I mean, it was fast, hard hitting, and guys could drop their gloves and bare knuckle fights, which I really enjoyed watching. But it was just a great time. I loved, that was the first time I ever saw hockey. And like I said, I came from football background. I played football as well as you did.
Yeah.
Back in the day. I can feel it pretty good right now. I don't know about you, but sometimes. But like I said, never knew anything about hockey.
Wow. So what was the transition from college graduate to professional hockey?
Well, like I said, I went to Elizabethtown Area High School right outside of Hershey. I ended up going to Westchester State College, where I played a little ball there.
Mm-hmm.
Then when I graduated, I wanted to be a teacher and football coach, go that route. But it was kind of funny. You never know which way life's going to take you. Mm-hmm. And for whatever reason, I can remember Brian Murray was a coach in Hershey, and he got called up to Washington. Gary Ennis who was a goaltender, had just retired, and he was the assistant coach there. And when Brian went up, Inch became the head coach, and they needed somebody. Well, I'd worked at Hershey Park for a lot of years, and I got to know a lot of people there. And I got to know a gentleman by the name of Frank Mathers, who was the GM for Hershey, who also played there in Hershey. Great guy. And I got a phone call and said, "Hey, we need help. I know you have a little bit of background in sports. Can you come give us a hand?" So I thought I was going to go there. I was going to be like a stick boy or work in the locker room, just help out. And I said, "Well, what, Frank, I have no idea." He goes, "Just bring a pair of khaki pants. We got a golf shirt for you, and show up at 4:00. Well, that was it. I did. Never left. 2 years in Hershey, and then went up to Washington in 1983, and never looked back. And
that's unbelievable. That's incredible. I mean, it goes to show, one, how you said you got to know a lot of people in Hershey, and I think that's a character trait that you have. You're unbelievable with people. You're able to create instant connections with people and a trusting relationship with people, and you do that with everybody. And I don't, not surprised how that's how it worked out, if that makes sense, you know?
Well, like I said, I I love the game, which we all do. You don't get into it if you don't love the game. And I found that the players are, the hockey players are really special people. They take time. They're good people. Not that, in other sports, same thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I just enjoyed being in that environment.
Mm-hmm.
Something I was used to.
Yeah,
And I was like I said, I fell in love with it, and
that's
it
awesome.
the people there. I've made lots of great friends that is, we keep in touch, players and coaches as well as you have as well.
Yeah.
On our game of hockey has really evolved over the years, and which is exciting to see as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, I want to talk about that because your role was, quote, trainer. Tell the listeners about, back then, there wasn't, it wasn't like you had a fraction of the amount of the staff that's helping teams today. Talk about that role as trainer and what it entailed back then.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, there was back in the day when I started in Hershey, it was just me.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, on game nights I'd have some stick boys that would help out, but it was me. I was the trainer, the equipment manager, team psychologist, you name it. We
Yeah.
had to do it. Which was a lot of fun, but the way the game has evolved, I mean, you need so many different aspects now. We never had strength conditioning coach,
Mm-hmm.
and the value that that your profession brings to athletes is unbelievable as well. But as it went on, and when I went up to Washington, I thought it was great because then I had a trainer that worked with me.
Mm-hmm.
Dick Young was my first trainer that I worked with in Washington, and then Stan Wong,
Mm-hmm.
and it was two of us. And the amount of equipment that you travel with.
Yeah. Oh,
And
it's quadrupled since back then, and the
it's
people
absolutely
people
crazy.
who are traveling with the teams as well.
Absolutely. And, two guys, we used to be able to get everything in a van.
Mm-hmm.
Now they need a 26-foot long truck. And think about it, you're traveling, you're playing nonstop, and the amount of gear that you travel with and have to set up and go through, and the staffs have tripled in size.
Mm-hmm.
And you need that care. You need that care for those players.
Absolutely. And just reminds me, I saw a couple of years ago, I saw Muggsy. I was, Chris Aldrich, we know really well and great guy. And I was looking at his stuff and they had a bag. You know what the bag was? The hat bag. They had their own hat bags and every guy had their own slot and numbers. I'm like, oh my God.
Hey, you know what? I'm
Another
so
bag on the
thankful.
truck,
And the trunks that they travel with, the weight. I mean,
Yeah.
you're with 5,000 to 6,000 pounds of equipment,
Yeah.
and
I would have to bring a trunk for supplements.
yeah,
Yeah. That
and
packet.
it just. I mean, we've tried to standardize a lot of things. Thank goodness we have.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, as you well know, we go into a city, you set up, you play the game, you break down, you travel the next city,
Mm-hmm.
and you're setting up again. And you may be out on the road for, 5, 6 games, especially in the West, where in the East, you're in and out. And both
Yeah.
ways are tough, no matter how you look
Oh
at
yeah.
it. The amount of travel, the amount of setup, the time that you have to put in, and you always got to come in with a smile on your face.
Yep. Unless you're running into the circus at Madison Square Garden, though, right?
Yeah. That was back in my younger days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, so tell us about the Washington years. I know, you rave and you had some very, very tight relationships with a lot of people there. You had the run in 1998. Talk about those years with the Caps.
Well, when I went there and I guess it was 83, it was my first year. You know, I was young and pretty much just out of college still and having a great time. The guys were all about the same age as I was, and you really build those bonds back in those days with everybody. And like I said, those guys and a lot of the people there, we're still connected. We still have friendships. I mean, I'm just reconnected with Bill Harple, who used to be run the building there, and we're going down this month or this coming month, yeah, to the opening game for the Caps. It's the 50th anniversary, and we've been invited to go down to that. So
Wow.
and there's 72 players that are coming and a lot of these guys I've had.
Yeah.
Wait to see them to reconnect with them. But you know, back in the day it was tough. It was a lot of work, but I was younger then, and we had a great time. I had a great support staff on game nights. Woody, as you know,
Yeah.
he's still with the Capitals. He's been there for it'll be almost 40 years of service he's going to be giving them.
Wow.
And a lot of the guys that worked in the room, we still keep in touch with. We get together. The trainers, obviously Greg Smith, Stan Wong, we still get together all the time. You know, it's just you build a team within a team,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a family, as you know. And
Mm-hmm.
we'd get together on holidays, vacations with our families whenever we could. During the summer, we go vacationing together. So I found that was the important thing, to really have that group that works within to be tight and working together. But
Yeah.
it was a lot of fun back in the days. You know,
Yeah.
we didn't have the cameras, we didn't have the phone cameras, and you know, kind of with the phone camera coming around, it kind of I'm old school, so but you know, kind of takes your privacy away. People taking
Mhm.
pictures all the time. So, but I mean, we used to have a blast.
That's
As you
awesome.
know. I mean, these guys,
That's awesome. I
we
just
have a great time.
yeah, nowadays you have the cameras in your weight room.
Yeah,
And like, you know me, I was like, get like, no, but I get it. I get it now. It's taken me a while to understand it's growing the game. It's people like to see the behind the scenes stuff,
absolutely.
you
And
know,
I agree with you on that. But at the same time, there are sometimes you need to have that
room.
and yeah, you know, your locker room to me is it's a it's a sanctuary for the players where they can come in, and as you know, sometimes things get heated,
Hmm.
and that's the nature of the game. And I um, just feel that that's more of a, in my opinion, more of a private place. But at the
Hmm.
same time, I agree with growing the game, letting the fans have that experience as well, connect with the players, which is also very important, you
Hmm.
know, to grow the league and for them. I mean, they all have their social platforms too that they work off of. And I mean, these guys are characters.
Oh yeah. Well, talk about characters. Talk about some of them. I mean, I know I would love for you to share some of the stories I've heard, but you know, you're probably not going to tell some of them because they're like you said, it's sacred information. But talk about some of the characters. I remember you'd always talk about guys like Dale Hunter, and we had the privilege and honor of working with Pete Peters as well. Like, talk about some of those guys.
That's funny because I mean, I just talked to Huntsy, you know, the other day. Pete Peters just called. We go back and forth with text messages. These guys, the one thing about Pete Peters is Pete always had a sense of humor,
Hmm.
and he also was a very hot headed. And he, I remember, and it's at the time it was funny. I thought it was funny, but I guess it wasn't. We were playing New Jersey,
Oh, I know where you're going with this one.
and as you can Google it, and
We looked
we're on
at
the
it one time.
bench.
We watched it with Pete one time. We were laughing our nuts off.
he guy comes down and he winds up takes a slap shot, and Pete, I don't know what Pete was doing, but it came and hit him square right in the melon. He was like this big old cedar tree and went down. I couldn't stop laughing. I had to go off the bench because it wasn't funny, but it was just to watch how that big guy went down his back. And we had, I mean, everybody on the bench were just, you know, we were concerned about him, but at
Yeah.
the same time, you know, it was just, that's hockey.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's what it is. I mean, guys get a hoot out of some things like that. Not when a guy gets hurt, obviously, but thank gosh he was okay.
Mhm.
And you know, he and I talk about that all the time. He almost got me fired on a number of occasions because I told him you can't use this illegal stick, and he fought me like you wouldn't believe, arguments, because it was the length of the paddle. They had a certain length at the time.
Mhm.
He was a stand-up goalie. He
Okay.
wasn't very flexible, and
Yep.
he we're playing Philadelphia. It was a big game for us. And back then, the coaches and management would say, tell the equipment guys, if these guys get caught with the illegal equipment, it's your fault. Well, you know me, I didn't hold back. But
Yep.
anyway, Pete somehow got that darn stick and was using it. And they called him because he used to play in Philly. And the guys, the trainers from Philly, equipment guys, knew that he was using the illegal stick. They called it. Our GM at the time was David Poyle. Our coach was Brian Murray.
Uh-oh.
Oh yeah, you know Brian.
Yep.
And the words that were coming out, I don't even know. Genre, I'm telling
Yeah.
you, unbelievable. And I got hold of Pete and I pulled him in the room, and he and I were going back and forth. Today we laugh about it.
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
you don't hold on to things like that. Now, if I would have gotten fired, been a different story. He
Oh,
wouldn't.
yeah. Yeah.
He and I would have been locking horns. And then with a guy like Dale Hunter, who was just a practical joker all the time, he would go and he would take guys' suits and cut the tags out of the inside of it. Like Hugo Boss was a big suit back in those days. Those guys would, get. And Huntsy still had his sport coat, his suit coat from when he played juniors, and it was ragtag. But he didn't care. He didn't want to spend money on clothes, so he'd go cut their tags out and have his mother-in-law sew the tag inside his coat. And guys used to get pissed at him, and he would think it was funny. He'd fill their side of their sleeves up with shaving cream to go stick the arm in, and out comes the shaving cream. Fill their gloves up, hockey gloves up. Of course, then I had to deal with it to clean them, get them clean. I mean, put hot stuff. It was nonstop. The best thing I ever saw, and to this day, he would take Vaseline and put it on the earpiece on a phone. Yeah, so down at the old USA Arena, you could call an extension, and that person would pick it up and get stuck in the ear. Or our GM David Poyle was walking by the phone. It rang. Huntsy had put the Vaseline in it. David picks it up, sticks it on his ear, and he pulls it off. He didn't say a word, but he turned bright red. And if anybody would have laughed, everybody had their heads down because they knew. And that's the first time I ever seen Dale a little uncomfortable. But he didn't. David was great about it. He just went over, took a towel, wiped it off, never said what he came in the training room to say, and walked away. So, I mean, a lot of that kind of stuff used to go on back then.
Yeah. Yeah. What about the story, the fish story? The fish put in someone's
Well, I don't know if it was from Sweden or from Finland, but it was a can of fish. It was rotten fish, and those guys love to eat it.
Mhm.
So Hunty took it and put it inside Mark Hunter, who played Dale's brother,
Mhm.
played with the Caps as well at the same time, and put it inside his car. And we went on a road trip. Well, buddy, let me tell you, that car smelled so bad they couldn't find what it was for the longest time. Mark couldn't, and boy, was he pissed at his brother. and it came down to where I think Mark was injured. He had to stay home. Huntsy had his truck there. They took cinder blocks. He jacked his truck up and then lowered it down on top of the cinder blocks so the back tires were just off the ground. So when Dale got home from a road trip, 2:00 in the morning, jumps in his truck, puts in the gear to back out. Couldn't go anywhere. And I mean, Hunty would steal guys like, one of the guys had a Jeep and it was pouring, it was just snowing like crazy. He'd go out and take their doors off and hide the doors to the Jeep, and the guy'd have to go down the road and snow and all this muck going in their truck. It was just, I mean, every day you never knew what to expect. You knew something was going to go on.
Yeah.
And buddy, let me tell you, it was just one thing after another. It was a blast. We had
No, like it's interesting. That's that's awesome. And I love that stuff. And I guess when I started, you kind of saw the utter sarcastic guys and the guys who were just like didn't give a shit and just, but you saw these. It's amazing how the society has changed where like that stuff. Yeah, I think Flower's still known as like a guy who still does the practical jokes every now and then. Great guy who I got to work with for a little bit in Minnesota. But I think that stuff is gone. I think it's just maybe because everyone's just not changed, but society has morphed into like you just don't do that stuff anymore, or people's feelings get hurt. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand why, because they don't know what they're missing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It breaks the tension within the room.
Yep.
As you know, there's a lot of these guys are under a lot of stress.
Absolutely.
A lot of times, and they wear it on their sleeves. So when you get things like that going, and you start having fun and joking around them, it's nothing that's ever going to hurt anybody. You know, that just kind of like breaks things down. You have some laughs, and it's not just one guy getting it all the time. It's everybody. It doesn't matter who you are. Back in the day, guys would get pissed off because if you did it to them and nobody said anything, if they didn't react and just went along, like Hunty used to do it all the time, he wouldn't react to it. And he used to get it nonstop because he was giving it to everybody.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
they would, they'd be hanging around waiting for that reaction and nothing would happen. And then they would be pissed. And so they would up it a little bit, do the next thing to try to get them.
Yeah.
It was just nonstop. And I think that's important. Guys need to, you build that closeness with your teammates that way. I think you're together. It's like you're a family basically, as you know.
I love it. Yeah.
And you're together all the time. Obviously, there's going to be some squabbles once in a while, but you settle them within. To me, that's important. And you have each other's back and you trust in each other. Because when they go on the ice, they're going to war. It's a physical game. You never know.
Yeah.
And so you got to trust in your teammates to be there for you, as well as the staff. We're together with them 24/7 as well.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff, joking around, having a good time, going out together, having dinners together, stuff that used to go on, when you have dinners, the shoe checks and, just putting hot stuff in guys' drinks or whatever it would be.
I mean, and who is who was the guy that it was the massage therapist in Washington that used to get the stamp, right? The stamp on his head.
That was Kurt Millar. I mean, here again, he's down in North Carolina.
Yeah.
And we keep in touch. He's coming up for this thing as well.
Former cop, right?
Yeah, he was a former detective. I used to tell him, yeah, you're some kind of detective. You must have been in the women's lingerie at J.C. Penney's because you can't figure out who's doing this to you. Because he would get shoe checked every single team dinner we would have, and he used to dress to the nines. I mean, he'd come in. He was a sharp dresser, and the one time he came in with plastic bags over his shoes and his pants up so high, and he thought he was showing the guys, oh yeah, you're not going to get me now. Sure enough, I know who did it. Got underneath the table, tore the back, and he never even felt it, and shoe checked him. We go to the bar. No, we didn't go to bars a lot,
Yeah. Yeah. Once in a while.
Once in a while. We go to the bar. He'd be stand up there on the railing, having his drink. He'd get shoe checked. The whole bar start cleaning their glasses. It was just, but that's the kind of fun we had.
Yeah.
It was harmless. Didn't hurt anything. I mean, he ruined a few shoes, but that's okay.
Yeah, I've been shoe checked several times, and they had a rookie skit for me in the weight room my last year in Minnesota. It's all fun. It's all people
Just
asking
stack
me,
up.
Are you going to be okay if they make fun of you?" I'm like, "What?" Like I'm going to laugh and see if they're good enough, you know?
Oh yeah, because if you don't go, if you fight back or get an
Oh,
attitude, you're going to get it. Look out.
yeah.
The
No,
best thing is
that's
go along with it and have fun. And I mean, I've seen, like, I know Curdy, his first couple years, he'd push back a lot. He's, hey, I'm a detective and I'm this and I'm that. Um,
puffing his chest. What was he doing?
oh yeah, he'd be puffing his chest out. And we were going on a road trip, and he just coming through his bag there, expecting us to take it. So I took it and hit it, but I forgot that I hit it.
Mm.
We were scrambling. It was right at the end of the game to get things loaded. We left. We're going on a 3-game road trip out to Chicago and Minnie and all the cold places. He didn't have no clothes. he, he was livid. Just stuff.
Because you hit it on him.
Yeah, I did. I actually felt bad for about 2 minutes, and then I got over it. But he didn't get
Yeah.
over it for the whole trip, and he got me back.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. He's a great guy.
Oh yes,
Really
yeah,
nice guy.
good man.
We're friends on Facebook. He puts a lot of pictures out there of him and his family. So that's good stuff. I want to talk about the worm here because I know you had a tight relationship with him, and I did as well. You know, this guy, you don't understand. When I worked on another team, it was, yeah, but you love to have him on your team. You know, like this guy, your boy, this, like he's an asshole, blah blah blah. I'm like, love to have him on your team. You know, talk
Absolutely.
about your relationship with him. I was laughing because like you would sharpen his skates after a game, and you'd see the nicks or lack of nicks in his skates, and you'd give it to him a little bit when we need a little bit more from him, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the way. You know, Pears would listen to you.
Yeah.
He'd take things in. He'd give it back to you a little bit. He reminds me a lot of Dale. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
played in London,
Mm-hmm.
where Dale was coach. And when I first came to Anaheim, I knew about the worm,
Mm-hmm.
but I never realized how much he played like Huntsy. He could get under your skin, get under the goaltenders, as you well know from
Yep.
the opposing teams. He'd go in, he'd be flopping around, laying on him, pretending like he couldn't get up, and guys be checking him in the back of the head and in the back, and he would say little things that would get underneath their skin, and there would be times when he would, kind of falter a little bit. Everybody during the season, you get tired, so I could always tell by the way the steel looked on his skates whether he was out mucking it up or else he was floating a little bit. So
Mm-hmm.
I'd always give it to him a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And same with you.
Yeah.
You call him out in the weight room,
Yeah.
you'd push him, and it's amazing how far you can push these guys.
Mm-hmm.
You get to know their personalities, you get to understand them. You got to remember, they're no different than you and I. They just have a God-given talent where they're professional athletes. But you can, if you get to know them and understand them, you can realize how much you can push them and how far they're willing to be pushed.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they'll push back on you, but they
Mm-hmm.
know, you're there for them. You got their best interest in mind. You're never going to put them in harm's way.
Mm-hmm.
And that was Pears. He would
Yeah.
take.
He appreciated it,
Yes,
right?
he did. Absolutely.
Yep.
You,
And
you couldn't hurt his feelings. Put it that way.
no.
You weren't going to
No.
hurt that guy's feelings.
No, and he's still going. And it's like I'm not surprised because like I knew he was a guy that wouldn't you have to someone's gonna have to physically say you're not playing hockey anymore. He's
300.
not going to retire. The guy just loves it. And I love watching him play still. And it's pretty cool.
You and me both. I mean, you talk about the love of the game.
Mm-hmm.
He loves the game. He loves the environment that you're in. He's a competitor. He wants to win. And if you're a young player, you should watch some of these older guys that you know, let's, call a spade here. Pears didn't have a whole lot of talent,
Nope.
But he
Not
worked
an
at
athlete.
no, but he worked at it.
Mm-hmm.
He was willing to put the time in, the effort to make himself better.
Mm-hmm.
And he was MVP.
Yep.
He's won only one other guy. There's two guys that won all the awards that you could possibly win, and you've had both of them.
Yeah, Scotty.
Yep, Scotty
Yep.
Niedermeyer and Corey Perry.
Mm-hmm.
And
Pretty good company there.
it's unbelievable. But you look at those two guys, and you see them, like at game time, you knew
Oh yeah.
they flipped that switch. They were ready, and
Yeah.
you can pick these. You can watch and you can pick these guys out who are.
Yeah. Well, that's
And
the
you can
thing
see their-
too. I was, talk about is winning. Like people or fans might say, "Oh, he's lost the Stanley Cup final again." I look at it like, do you know how effing hard it is to get to the Stanley Cup final? Like, are you kidding me? Like, there's a chance that team wouldn't be in the Stanley Cup final if he wasn't on the team. And I say that with not just his on ice performance, but I'm talking about his experience being brought to a team and helping them through the ups and downs of a playoff run. Like that is so valuable. And it's hard to get to a Stanley Cup final.
Oh, absolutely. I was in for 35 years. I got to go one time and we lost 4 straight.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of the biggest. I was crushed after that because
Mm-hmm.
you never know. You went and you
Mhm.
won.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not, yes, it's a lot about the players,
Yeah.
about the coaches, but it's also everybody else has to be in there pulling their weight. And it's a grind.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the toughest championships to win. I don't care what anybody says.
No question.
Best of 7 series. And that was it 4 series.
Mm-hmm.
A best of 7 after completing an entire season. And you have too. We've seen guys who play through injuries that are unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing sometimes just how much the body can tolerate. So
Yeah.
To me, that is one of the toughest championships to ever win.
Oh
And
yeah.
my hat's off to teams that have won it. And you're among that. Your name's on that trophy, which will never go away. It's something I always wanted. You don't go into this business not wanting to win. And it's hard when you don't achieve that,
Mm-hmm.
from all levels.
Absolutely. And like I would not be surprised at one bit if Edmonton wins the Stanley Cup this year.
Somebody asked me, who do you pick? I said Edmonton's one of the teams for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But also you never count out Vegas, and I'm not counting out Florida again.
No.
They got a taste. They're going to be there.
They know what it takes now. Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe Worm will end up one of those teams. If you want a guy that's going to come in and teach the young guys,
oh yeah, it's no question.
And his routine better than anybody.
Mm-hmm.
What he does, his preparation. You may look at him and say, this guy's just, but when it comes time, he's preparing himself.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's a lot of these young guys should watch films, look at some of these guys, study them, and, even reach out to them.
Mm-hmm.
And if he's in the locker room with you, follow him, watch,
use him. Mm-hmm.
Because I know he spent a lot of time with you. You spent a lot of time with him as well.
Mm-hmm.
Pushing him, working him, getting him stronger. As your body gets older, if you haven't taken care of yourself, then it makes it a little bit harder.
Oh yeah.
But with the right training and stuff, you can last. And he's still going.
Still going. And
still going.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive.
It is impressive. Absolutely.
Talk about being part of that startup of PHATS SPEM. That's how I say it. PHATS. Talk about your involvement in that process and look where it is now. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I would. That was always a dream to have all the different entities of hockey there. And we've accomplished that, but never in a million years I would have dreamed that the size, how it's grown. And because when we started, I mean, I remember going to my first meeting back in 83 or 84, and there was maybe 10 reps there, and there might have been 30 or 40 of us. And it was Larry Ashley from Vancouver, who passed away, God bless him, kind of got us organized. And from there, you could see that there was a need for something for education purposes, to come together and to talk over ideas on how to improve, the league on our end. Maybe get some standardizations put in place, recognize people for certain things that they've done. And that's how we started. That's how we started going. And in 1990s, I forget probably 96, we brought in a lawyer, Roland Maloney, who had worked with football, basketball, and baseball, to try to help us get organized. Now we couldn't be an association. We had to be a society, because association, I don't know, we were told that you can't do this and that, GMs would get upset and so on and so. So we became societies, but we became PHATs, was professional hockey athletic trainers.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's definitely a separation.
Mm-hmm.
There's trainers, there's equipment managers, strength conditioning coaches, nutritionists, massage therapists. But anyway, we agreed to break off and have under one umbrella, but two different groups, which was PHATS, SPEM,
Okay.
Side Professional Equipment Managers. And I was selected as vice president when it was just one group, PHATS. And then when we broke, then I became the president of SPEM, which I was there for quite a few years. There are term limits, but things happen, and they kept me on, and we were working to try to improve things, not only for ourselves, but for our players, for our coaches, for the organization, for the league. And it's also the American Hockey League, the East Coast. We brought in colleges. We brought the juniors in, because, as you know, both of those are feeder systems into the NHL.
Mm-hmm.
So we wanted those guys to be a part, so they understood what we were going through and trying to accomplish. And it started growing. And then we got the building managers involved. We got the referees came, then the league came, then the Players Association, and strength conditioning coach. I mean, it just grew. It started growing.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not sure, but the thing that I see it's probably the one sport where you can have a captive audience of all the different entities for hockey.
Mm-hmm. At those
We're
meetings.
all there together.
Yep.
There's educational seminars. There's, just if you go, you're working this business, you can come back with wow.
Mm-hmm.
And when I went this summer, I couldn't believe the size, how big it has got. And I'm proud of that, because I have a little bit of my thumbprint there, but the guys who have taken over have continued in pushing forward and growing this thing. And it's great to see.
That is awesome. There's that standard now. There's that standard of how, and the standard keeps on getting bigger, which is awesome, growing.
And GMs that I had in the past sent videos in, and then you have guest speakers, and obviously, I mean, I picked Stan Wong, because Stan and I worked together in Washington. He was the trainer,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like part of my family.
Mm-hmm.
And, I really, I didn't want to. I shouldn't say I didn't want to, but it would have been nice to have a GM there. But I felt I wanted to stick to the kind of the roots
Mm-hmm.
of the guys that I worked with, because really, without them, I wouldn't have been able to do what I did, as well as my family. So I had Stan, and Stan spoke, and then Woody, who was my partner for a long time in Marsh.
Mhm.
And we're friends today. We still get together all the time, talk about things, and and he's still in Marsh, so he spoke. And I didn't know it, but good friend of mine showed up, Dale Hunter.
Oh, wow.
He and Cindy Lou showed up at the meetings, and he was a guest speaker. I didn't know. It was funny. I was walking through the lobby, and just you're looking around and seeing people saying hi to people, and I look over and I see this guy sitting at the bar. Go figure. And I looked. I said, "Man, that looked like Huntsy." And it took a little while for it to dawn on me. So I turned around. I walked back down, and I walked over, and sure enough, here he is sitting there with big
Wow.
on his face. He said, being Huntsy, he said, "I wouldn't have missed it for the world. It's a
Wow.
great honor." And he was a guest speaker, and of course, he had some good stories to tell. And then it was a night that I won't forget. And then November, I go to Toronto in November. I think it's the 10th of November, and I go up there for that ceremony as well. So
Wow. That is unbelievable. That is well deserved.
I appreciate you saying that.
It's just a Hall of Fame person in general. So that is awesome. Congratulations.
Well, thank you.
It's really neat.
It's like I said, it's really a great honor, and I wouldn't have been able to do what I did without my family allowing me, and the staffs that I worked with over the years, and also the players, GMs, and coaches, and the friendships that we built over the years. So that really means a lot to me to get there. The only thing missing in the hardware is something that you got that I've always wanted. And that in itself too is unbelievable, Shauna. So
well, I was talking to Bruce on this actually. We came pretty close in 2015, and that team was the closest I've ever been, other than 2007. Actually, no, wait a minute. No, 2003 we lost in Game 7, but that 2015 team was a powerhouse, and unfortunately we lost that one to Chicago. So
yeah, that was quite a times. I was there with you on that one.
Yeah, that was a good run, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was
couldn't get it done.
Exciting, and there's also one that sticks in my mind too, and I think it was Detroit we played.
Yeah, the shortened season.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's when Randy was the coach and we lost Game 7
in Detroit.
And Cleary pushed Hiller's pad there. Yeah,
and the puck went in the net.
Yeah, that was yeah.
Never forget that.
And the LA series too. Like that was a good team we had there. But hats off to those teams for getting it done.
Absolutely, like I said, you never know. I mean, you have one of the best teams in the National Hockey League, and you can be beaten on any given night. So that's why those series are so important. You have to show up every single night and give it your all. There's no second chance.
Nope.
You don't win that series, you're done.
Done. Well, tell the listeners what you're up to nowadays, buddy. I see you sitting on your porch, great piece of property and new house. And what are you up to today?
Well, like I said, I'm retired. I do a lot of crabbing and fishing. Was fortunate enough to find a little piece of property on the water, and my wife and I built a smaller home, but it's perfect for us. And we do a lot of entertaining with with our kids and friends and family coming over. But I was working 3 ice. We postponed the season this season during the summer, and that's a blast. It was great getting back in the locker room. We did 2 seasons, and hopefully next season we're going to kick it up. So, if your listeners out there during the summer they want to see hockey, tune into 3 ice, because it's a 3-on-3. It's nonstop. It's a fast action game, and rules are a little different, but it's a good game to watch.
Yeah, you got to know my buddy Johnny Schiavo.
Yep.
Yeah,
absolutely.
He's a great person.
Yeah,
good guy.
It's hard to find a bad person in hockey, Sean.
Yeah, well, they're out there.
No, they're out there. We've met into a couple, but overall, the majority of the people are
absolutely
great people to work with, and but they're the ones that are miss out.
Yes, 100%.
They're the ones that, hey, if you're going to be grumpy and moody all the time, you're missing out on something that, you're, first of all, you're fortunate enough to be in this sport, so enjoy every moment, because you never know when your last moment will be.
Oh, 100%.
And
100%.
it's, there's, everybody handles stress differently, and it's a grind, but man, is it fun.
Yeah. No, that's
Think
awesome.
of the people we had and the
Yeah.
things we did.
Yeah. Everyone, like Dr. Millhouse or David McNabb or Scotty, like those conversations with Scotty all the time, deep. But yeah, good times and a lot of guys. The list goes on and on. So
yeah, so like I said, I consider myself very fortunate. But like I said, without the staffs that I had to work with and players and coaches and the whole 9 yards, I wouldn't be able to do what I did and have the fun that I had, the friendships I made, and they carry on today. Like you and I talk all the time, and it's good to hear, to hear your voice and how you're doing, and what you're doing is you're giving chances to some of these young people, athletes. They take it to heart and they listen. You never know.
You never know. Never know. Yeah.
When it's knee high to a grasshopper, and here it's like what, 6'4".
Yeah. Crazy.
Drafted in the National Hockey League.
Crazy.
It is crazy.
Crazy. Yeah.
It just depends. You got to work hard.
Got to work hard. But anyways, Sluggo, this has been unreal, buddy. It's been great to see you. You look great. And thank you for your time. And I enjoy Toronto. It's you deserve it, bud. And I'm just so happy for you.
Yeah, it's a humbling experience, and I'm grateful. Like I say, it goes out to all the people I work with too. That's what I believe, and I'll just, at the same time, I'll be glad when it's over, because I'm not big on that kind of stuff, but it's going to be great to go see people.
Yeah.
Oh, and one last thing.
Yeah.
The general manager who hired me in the National Hockey League, David Poyle, is also being inducted that same time.
Wow.
So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
that is pretty cool.
I was so happy to hear that. And as you know, David, he's done an unbelievable job involved with USA Hockey and with the Capitals and with Nashville Predators and built teams. So I'm excited for him to going in.
Awesome.
I'm excited to be there.
That is really neat. Yeah. He's a heck of a GM, and you should actually ask him about the Vaseline on his ear story. That
we get together. Sean, I call him up every night. Like when my daughter got married, we sent him. Stan was there, Todd Warren, a bunch of us. I sent him a text message about this wouldn't happen without him having hired us all together, and just different things. And he always answers back.
It's awesome.
Always takes the time. And
that is great. That is really
take time to respond to you. That's says a lot about that person.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations and good luck. And this has been awesome. I think our listeners will really appreciate your story and life in professional hockey. It's a good one. So thank you.
Well, like I said, you had a part of it, Shawner, and it was, it's a pleasure to do this with you. And I wish you the best of luck going forward. And here again, you young people out there, if you're training with Sean, you're fortunate. Listen, and like I said, you never know.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Sluggo. I appreciate it, buddy. We'll see you next time.
You got it. Go get them.
See ya. Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.